Hi, and welcome to today's live stream on April 13th, 2022, in which we're going to be taking up lesson number 5 in our sentence combining series, an attempt to upgrade your sentence maturity through the practice of sentence combining. Our topic for today is coordination, one of the most common types of sentence combining that we do in our writing. Okay, let's take a look. Complex coordination. Let's first talk about what the word coordination means. It is divided into two parts: co, meaning equal, and then ordinate is an axis of a parallel line. In other words, coordination means things that are equal, co, in rank, ordinate. What this means is, in terms of writing, is that you must maintain a kind of parallelism whenever you are coordinating parts of a sentence. For example, let's take a look at this first one. In the winter, I love to swim, hike, and cycling. Whoa, we got a problem there. And the problem is we have two infinitives, which you know an infinitive is the preposition to followed by the base verb, to swim, to hike, and oops, cycling. We go to a participle. So the three items in that series do not have the same form. And thus, there's a problem with coordination called faulty parallelism, sometimes called faulty coordination. You probably already know how to correct this. In the winter, I love, now we have all three infinitives: to swim, to hike, to cycle. Now we have parallelism and we have good coordination. However, keep in mind that this element of coordination, what's going on my screen here? Somehow it's getting cut off. You can also change the three to their participle forms. In other words, you can create any kind of parallelism that you want. Swimming, hiking, and cycling are just fine. What I'm trying to show you here, it looks like the left side is getting cut off, and I apologize for that. We want to take a look at when parallelism isn't quite so obvious, when the need for coordination and parallelism is not quite so obvious. So let's take a look at this first sentence here. The company offers, what does it offer? Training for professional careers, and now we're going to have a list of those professional careers. Engineering management, that's a career. Software development, that's a career. But now what happens? We go from careers to people. Service technicians, accounting managers. So we have two items in the series that focus on careers and two items in the series that focus upon people who have those careers. Well, we have to go all one, all careers, or all people. Here we can go all careers. The company offers training for professional careers. Engineering management, that's a career. Software development, that's a career. Technical services, that's a career. Managerial accounting, that's a career. So here I want to demonstrate to you that whenever we're talking about coordination, we mean that we must put together equal parts. All of those parts, and here what we mean by equal, all of those parts must have the same format, the same form, whether that form be a tense, a preposition, whatever you're repeating there, infinitive, that's what you must repeat throughout the series. Okay, with that kind of basic understanding under our belt, let's go ahead and talk about this next element here. And that is what you normally engage in with your everyday coordination. You know that it is important to use coordination in your writing to avoid this high degree of redundancy like you see here. And you know that it is important and you know how to simply combine students and teachers to serve as the two coordinated elements, compound subject of the sentence. That's everyday simple coordination. There's also coordination for conciseness. You know that you see here a high degree of redundancy about the when the Bidens travel to. That phrase is repeated redundantly. So what we would do is use coordination to cut down on that wordiness. Biden traveled to Washington or Delaware. We're using there our simple coordinators, and the three simple coordinators are and, but, and or. And those are the primary ones that I want you to focus on for this lesson. And, but, and or. Okay. Now we're going to talk about coordinating sentences. This again is one of the most common coordinating tasks that you carry out in your writing. However, because there are multiple ways of coordinating sentences, you often see an error when it comes to coordinating entire sentences. And what I want to do is get at the cause of that error and show how to use coordination to correct it. So here we go. Some species of whales are nearing extinction. Next sentence. Many countries refuse to accept even a partial ban on hunting. So we have two sentences. How are we going to coordinate them? We can coordinate them with a comma and one of our simple coordinating conjunctions. Some species of whales are nearing extinction, common but. And that is one way of coordinating two sentences together. Here's another way with an internal period. Some species of whales are nearing extinction. Internal period, also called a semicolon. Many countries refuse to accept even a partial ban on hunting. The second way is just as valid as the first way. They're different. They're both valid, but they are different. With the comma and the simple coordinator, but you have only a quarter second pause. A comma is a quarter second pause. And the but there makes them seem more closely related. Now, with the second one, you're using a semicolon, which is a half second pause. Therefore, you are lessening the coordination. You're making the two ideas more distinct. And that's fine. Both can serve your purpose depending upon how you're using them. Now, the widest distinction that you get between the two is when you use the full stop, the 1 second stop called a period, which is used to mark the end of a sentence boundary. Notice that we can also use a coordinating conjunction to begin that sentence. Now, some people might have told you never begin a sentence with a conjunction. And in some areas of writing, that is certainly true. However, keep in mind that that primarily applies to the coordinator and. Coordinators like but and conjunctive adverbs like however, therefore, thus, those are all perfectly acceptable words to begin a sentence with. It's the and that you have to watch out for. Okay, so there we have three ways of coordinating sentences. Comma, coordinated conjunction, semicolon, internal period, and period. Now, those are the only three ways to join sentences together. If you leave out the but in the first one, you have a comma splice. If you leave out the semicolon and replace it with a comma in the second one, you have a comma splice. If you leave out the period in the third one, you have a run-on sentence. So these are the only three ways. You cannot deviate from these three ways. It must be either a comma coordinated conjunction, semicolon, or period. Those are the only three ways you have of putting sentences together. Okay. Series coordination. Series, you know, is a list of parallel items. Those parallel items can be word, phrases, clauses, or even full sentences. The key is that you maintain parallelism. If you start a list with an adjective, all the remainder items in the phrase must be adjectives. If you start a list with nouns, all the items in the list must also be nouns. So here we go. Even in the 21st century, fans believe Dracula is. Now we have three adjectives: sexy, comma, dangerous, comma, and irresistible. This is the common way that you have been practicing to coordinate items in a series. Commas after the first two and the last one joined by and. However, what I want to show you today is alternate ways of achieving series coordination that don't always repeat the same pattern of sexy, dangerous, and irresistible in terms of commas. Here we have three prepositional phrases in series. Excuse me, the experienced bobsledders hurtled down the icy track, over the banked curve, and straight into a snowbank. So we're maintaining parallelism there. We're having our usual method of coordination, comma, comma, and. But this is with phrases. We can also use this familiar way of coordinating with entire clauses. Sherlock Holmes studied the dead man's muddy boots and deduced where he lived, how he was murdered, and when the murder occurred. Those are clauses. Excuse me for just a second. Hello, Rama. Hello, Jason. Welcome. Now, let's mix this up a little bit. Let's give you some more options on how to coordinate items in a series. Here we can see the normal kind of method. A trip to the supermarket can be a terrible ordeal. And here we have a list of items that make things an ordeal. They're basically adjective phrases, noun phrases, combination of the two. Now, that's normal. But what if you wanted to really create with your punctuation, the kind of chaos that can be found in supermarkets on a busy day? One thing that you can do is to take out the commas and use only ands, putting them all together, kind of mushing them together into that one terrible experience. A crowded parking lot and noisy kids and cars that wobble and long checkout lines. And you've heard that kind of construction before. You've probably even used it yourself. But it is being used here to show you the kind of confusion, the kind of zaniness, the activities that are going on all at once. And that's why we take out the commas, to show it all at once. By the same token, you can take out the ands and have a kind of cumulative effect. By saying a trip to the supermarket can be a terrible ordeal, a crowded parking lot, noisy kids, cars that wobble, long checkout lines. You don't bother with the ands because you want to kind of introduce an element of exhaustion, of thing after thing after thing after thing. So you do have the options of either eliminating the commas and using all ands, or eliminating the ands and using only commas, depending upon what effect that you want to go for with your writing. Now, here's another one in which you can see the same techniques being employed, but this time we're going to use an interruption. Let's notice the interruption. Audiences in 1997 loved Titanic, the movie, because of the shipwreck's storied history, CGI effects, and now we interrupt it We use our normal and coming before the last item in the series, but we're going to interrupt it. And most especially the tragic lovers. So there's another option that you have. Use the normal comma, comma, and, but put in an interjection to really highlight one of the elements. And most often this is used for the last element or the terminal element. It really, just to go back, by putting in that most especially, as you can tell by the words, we're really calling out the most important of the three items. Okay, one other feature that I want to introduce you to when it comes to coordination is what is called paired coordination. And by paired coordination, we mean using two coordinators that work together instead of just one, such as both and, either or, neither nor, whether or, and not only but. And you also hear not only but also. So these are used in pairs, such as neither the rain nor the sleet will prevent us from playing. And what happens there, instead of just saying the rain nor the sleet will prevent us from playing, by putting them in pairs, you're emphasizing their strong connection. You're saying, you're really highlighting these two things in a way that can't be done with simple coordination. Neither the rain nor the sleet. You're really using those words, neither nor, to pinpoint the two things. You see something of the same thing here. The choice was whether to study for the exam or to write. Now, the whether or is one of the most frequent paired coordinators whenever you're offering options or choices. And that is the whether and or pair. And notice that, this is a common mistake. Notice that there is no comma before or. Why? Because it is not the last item in a series and it's not a complete sentence. Therefore, there's no need for a comma there. Here is the both and, both what you eat and when you eat determine fat gain. So again, you can see how the both and really serves to call out two things, what and when here. And it does it more effectively than simple coordination would do. Here we have the not only and but in practice. Not only is the practice unfair, but candidates have complained about it for years. So whenever you have two things and you want to kind of add one to the other, not only this, but also this, if you believe this, well, then think about this. So the not only is there to give a kind of additive effect, a cumulative effect. Now, paired coordination can also be used to achieve certain kind of groupings. And these groupings help to clarify your writing. Let's take a look at how you would normally write something. African Americans such as, and now we have a list of what, 4 people. Frederick Douglass, comma, W.B. Du Bois, comma, Zora Neale Hurston, comma, and Malcolm X. So there's our normal kind of list. Well, that list becomes kind of hard to remember because there are 4 of them. The human mind is maximized for 3 items, but we have 4 here. So whenever you have more than 3 items, it's good to think about ways of grouping those items. For example, African Americans such as Frederick Douglass and W.B. Du Bois, comma, Zora Neale Hurston and Malcolm X have written important autobiographies. So now you use a coordination that puts them in 2 pairs equaling 4. Douglass and Du Bois are in 1 pair, Hurston and Malcolm X are in the 2nd pair. And that makes them easier to remember. It makes the list more impactful, more clear, more defined. We can also use the from to in conjunction with the and. African Americans from Frederick Douglass and W.B. Du Bois to Zora Neale and Malcolm X. So whenever you have that from, you've got to have the to. And we also continued with our pairing them with the and in two sets of two. But basically, what I want you to see is that sometimes it's good to deviate from the norm. That top sentence is the norm. And sometimes your writing can be given more variety, your sentences more complexity, and your sentences more clarity by using paired groupings. Now, your homework for this is here. Here, there is the URL for it. I'll put the URL in the chat window. So people can download it. There's we have some more people joining us. Angelo, Liang, and Ada. Here's the URL for the homework. We'll go up there in a second. There you go. Now, speaking of homework, I do want to share with you some homework that I've been given, that has been turned in. It's been really excellent. Let's see. I believe this is Angelo's. This is yours, isn't it, Angelo? Angelo did a really great job of taking a large number of sentences, which the Angel Island story consisted of, and really composing a tight little essay using sentence combining. I had a couple little corrections here on commas, on maybe thinking a little bit more about placement of some of the things, but otherwise, as you can tell if you read through this, Angelo did an excellent job of putting things together here. Look at this appositive here. He actually uses two appositives quite cleverly. At the same time, Angel Island, comma, the final stop for Chinese immigrants trying to enter the U.S., comma, is unlike Ellis Island, well known as the first stop on these shores for European immigrants. So it's pretty clever use of two appositives. He got in a lot of information in that one sentence. And this one sentence is 38 words. So remember, our target is 29 words per sentence. And he got it up to 38 there, which is definitely going to help his average. I think all of the sentences were in that 29 range. Here is 26. Doing a really great job. This one is well over 30. That is 34 words. He's just doing a really excellent job of increasing his syntactic maturity to reach that academic level that we want to go for. Let's see. Let me also share Glenda's. I don't think Glenda is here. Hi, Becky. Yeah, Becky, we're looking at some of the great homework that's being done in sentence combining. I'm going to share another one now. This is from Glenda, I do believe. Yeah, this is Glenda. I thought that the second paragraph that Glenda did was just perfect, just absolute perfect. We have a few little punctuation issues here. Sometimes I think we get so involved in combining sentences with the structures we've been shown. In this case, it was an ing, and I kind of told Glenda that the last two sentences contain 6 ings. And remember what we're going for here. We're going for sentence variety as well as sentence complexity. So instead of using 6 ings in 2 sentences, I want to cut that down to something like 3 and bring in some of the other tools that we've been studying. But as I say, this second paragraph that she did on Angel Island is just perfect. just absolutely perfect. So congratulations to Glenda and Angelo on some excellent homework. I really appreciate your hard work on that. Let's go back to the slide show that we were viewing, and let's go ahead. How are we doing on time? Ah, perfect. Yeah, I like to do like 25, 30 minutes at the beginning, and now the rest we can do with your questions. And I have no idea why I'm doing this with my headset on. Okay, how's it going, everybody? And well, Becky, thank you. You're welcome. Becky, these students, and these are international students, most of whom speak English as their second language, they're they're benefiting from sentence combining. I did not know how sentence combining was going to work with international students, but I have to say that I'm really impressed by this. I did not suspect. I thought there would be more problems than there are when it comes to using sentence combining with international students. I'm saying this to Becky because she's a teacher in Buffalo, New York, and just kind of share that with her for use in her possible use in her own students. Okay, questions now. While you're typing in your questions, I know we have a 2 minute lag here. last chat last Wednesday, one of the suggested topics was for uh, a presentation to present a kind of journey through a master's degree or journey through the PhD. And oh, great, Becky. Well, good. Well, let me know how they react. Let me put that up there for Becky's comment. Was she's having her students, international students, watch the videos, and let me know how they react. Let me know anything that can be improved. Most of all, Becky, if you would. But let me get back to this PhD journey here, and Becky can help me out, and any of the other uh, attendees here with your own experiences. I really want to know, Liang, you're new to sentence combining. Well, Liang, how has it been helping you? Have you attempted any of the homework? And if you go back to the previous 4 lessons, Liang, you'll see the link to the homework in each of those. And so I encourage you to go ahead and um, take some time and work through these lessons and let me know how it goes. So we have a question here. This is from Angelo. In the previous sentence, can we combine commas and together? Um, Angelo, I would say no. Looking at the way that you did it there, I would say no. That would get confusing. Once you set up a way of doing something, you set up a series of expectations. And so once you begin doing it with ands, or once you begin doing it with commas, well, wait a minute. It looks like you had the normal kind of punctuation there. Yeah, you were doing the normal 3 items in a series there. A crowded parking lot, comma, noisy kids. And then you would need a comma there after kids. That's called the Harvard comma. It's the comma that comes before an and in the last item, before the last item in a series. Now, in some forms of writing that don't apply to you guys, in some forms of writing, journalistic writing, creative writing, that comma before that last and can be omitted, but not in academic writing. It is required in academic writing. But otherwise, no. Once you set up something, you set up expectations, and if you defy those expectations, you better have a good reason for doing it. Otherwise, you cause confusion. But thank you for the question, Angelo. It's great to have those kind of questions, and it's great to say, well, can I do this? What happens if I do that? That's great. That's exactly where you should be as a writer. Experimenting, taking chances, getting feedback. All of that is a matter of improving. And so, Angelo, outstanding. Keep asking those questions. Keep saying, well, let's turn it around here and let's see. That's great. Absolutely great. Now, did want to talk a little bit about this graduate school journey. And what I want to do is ask for your tips before I put together this presentation on how to survive graduate school. I really want your tips. Let me give you a few of mine, and then I want yours, and I'm going to put them together into one grand uh, presentation. Here's one that I ran into this week when I was tutoring a graduate student who's going to school in Canada. Not going to Miguel, but going to that second level university. I forget the name of it. I think it starts with an A. But she is a Korean student, South Korean, studying in Canada, where she's now a permanent resident. And she's enrolled in a master's degree program. And she is not doing well. And so, after working with her a little bit and learning more about the program she's in, I realized she's really in the wrong program. She's really at the wrong school. And here's why I say that. There are over 6,000 colleges, universities, and community colleges in North America. And there's that many for a reason. Not only does it serve a lot of different students, but there's also the reason that different schools are good for different things. Different schools are good for different kinds of students. And so one of my first tips to you would be to find a school where you are successful. Now, this Korean student that I'm tutoring is a very bright lady. There's no doubt she's a bright lady. Her English is on the high intermediate, low advanced level. So she's got good English. She's at the wrong school. And so I've been encouraging her to explore options at different programs where she can be successful. Yes, please, Becky, please share that list if you would. Here, I'll put that up. Becky says, if you want, I've made some notes from international students on formal writing, notes on the most common mistakes. I would love to see that list. For bonus, anyone that made a checklist of the notes. I would love to see that list, Becky. She says, I can email the notes and the checklists that were made. You can see if there's anything you can give. Absolutely. That'd be wonderful, Becky. I'd love to do that. And also to share them here as well, too. So back to the PhD journey and the master's journey. That's my first tip is if you're not comfortable at a school, if you're not having success at a school, and you feel like you're giving it your best, you feel like you really have the tools, it's maybe not you, it's maybe the program in the school where you are. It might be your dream program, it might be your dream school, but it also might not be right for you. So there's one tip. Give me your reactions to that. Another tip is, and I made this error when I first started graduate school back in way back then. I went in and it was like, oh great, I'm in grad school. This is wonderful. I'm going to really just learn a lot. You know what I didn't do? I didn't plan for the end. At the beginning of your program, I think you should plan for the end. What's the end game? I didn't sit down and plan out my courses that would take me to achieve a specific goal. I was there. I was glad to be there. I just gotten out of the Navy, and I went straight from the Navy to my master's degree program. And I was just glad to be there. And I didn't have a specific through line. I didn't have a specific goal. And that's one of the things that I wish I had done differently. Sure, Goran. Negative statements. I've actually got a video on that, and I will be happy to share that. Goran, have you seen the video on avoiding negative statements? And I will go ahead and put that up. So, Goran, tell me whether or not you've seen that, and that way I'll know whether it's something I need to add to or whether I can just take that presentation and bring it in. Okay, Angelo, I have a more general question. I think that sentence combining method could help writing more in a narrative. I see what you're saying. Yes, I can see why you would say that, Angelo, because of the kind of exercises that you've been doing. But I assure you, as someone who does academic writing every day, that I use it every day in my sentence combining. I've been giving you these narrative types of sentences because they're easier. So I want you to get comfortable at doing those first before moving on to more complex styles. And he says, I read a paper, for example, that abstracts with a narrative style have more chance to be. That's for sure. Yeah, in your abstract, especially, you are telling a story. One of the real popular approaches to presentations, any kind of report that you're giving, is to quote, tell a story. You follow the narrative structure of introducing the characters, having the plot have ups and downs. In other words, telling it in the sense of stringing people along a certain plot. First this, then that. And then this exciting, important thing happened. You don't say exciting, important. You would emphasize it with your type of sentences that you write and the words that you choose. Goran has not seen the video. Okay, thank you, Varan. I will make a note of that. Angelo, I would say that I would say that the more readable your academic prose is, the more respected it would be, the more you would be seen as a talented communicator. Okay, Becky said, here's a link to the notes I made for the students. And she's going to put that into the chat. I don't see that in the chat, Becky. Can you go ahead and put it in the chat? Angelo, you're welcome, Angelo. You're welcome. Did I miss the link, Becky? I don't know about the other people, Becky, but I'm not seeing the link in the chat. So, yes, and thank you very much, Becky. It's wonderful to have a good learning community. Wow, I never saw it, Becky. Thank you for doing it again. I appreciate it. I'm not seeing it. But you're going to email it to me, right? Okay, here is Ada. And please tell me whether your name is pronounced Ada or Ida. Okay, and Ida ask, when listing three or more items in a sentence, is it okay to write them like this? Health education as a branch of public health consists of the following? Sure. Yeah. I'm assuming you're going to put the list after that colon. Now, the verb consist should agree with the subject health education. So it should be health education consist. That's a subject verb agreement error that is caused by having words that come in between the subject health education and the verb consist. It's a very common subject verb agreement problem. You know, Becky, that Becky said maybe links are not allowed here. I had never heard that before about uh, live stream from what is this? But StreamYard. I'm using StreamYard, but I will check on it. So Ada, I'm still trying to learn how to pronounce your name. Can you write it out phonetically or something? Okay. We're doing time. So those are two kind of PhD journey or master's degree journey hints that I was going to say is um, know your program, know where you're headed in the program, and make sure it's one that you're being successful at. If you're not being successful at it, you might be at the wrong school. Because here's my kind of take on this. If you can do a bachelor's degree with an A or B average, you can do a master's degree. Because in a master's degree, all you're doing is taking your major that you took on the bachelor's level and taking a lot more courses in it. That's the main difference I found. Some programs have a thesis at the end, some do not. Now, and if you can do a master's degree where you're going through this kind of specialization, then you can do a PhD. If a master's is just more of the same in bachelor's, a doctoral degree is just a heck of a lot more of the same thing than the master's, with the addition of having to kind of perform like an academic researcher. You're on the doctoral level. You're taking your first steps into that academic world as a researcher and author. Liang, can you tell me more about an academic chapter? I have never heard that phrase before. Liang, can you tell me what your advisor said about an academic chapter? And is this part of a master's or a doctoral thesis? If anybody else has ever heard of an academic chapter, please share that with us. Okay, Becky, I will email you. Note to self, email Becky Schmidt. Will do, Becky. How you pronounce it the second? Ada from Nigeria. Thank you, Ada. Okay, back. Okay, yeah, academic chapter. You're welcome, Becky. Liang, academic chapter. Has anyone ever heard of that before? I have not. I do not know what is meant by that. I thought all the chapters were academic. Okay, well, until I hear back from a few of you, continuing on, and I will leave that up. I'll leave that question up from Leon until we get an answer to it. So make sure you have chosen the right school for you. Don't be afraid to change schools. That's much better than kind of bumbling your way through making B's. You don't want B's on the master's level. You want A's. An occasional B is okay. That makes the whole thing look more legit, but you don't want too many of those. Now, the third suggestion I would have would be to get to know your advisor. Although your advisor might not have that much for you whenever you begin the program, that advisor will become increasingly important throughout the program. And therefore, I think it's important. And I benefited from this on my doctoral degree, not on my master's degree. But when getting my doctoral degree, I had a wonderful advisor who took a personal interest in me, and we became friends. We would even take trips together to academic conferences. And I would have dinner at his house to meet his family. And so that kind of relationship is so important when you get to the final stages. And really, as many people, as many of the constituents on your panel that you can get to know in a personal way, the better. I know that's not easy for everyone, but it is worth the effort. And the real world is called networking. And networking, I feel, is just as important in graduate school. So there are 4 tips. Tip number 5, study groups. There were some courses that I barely survived on the doctoral level, and I had some great study partners. And we met on a regular basis. We would kind of share the things that we did well to help them with the things they weren't doing so well in, you know? And that study group becomes not only an academic support, but it also becomes a moral support. So you will do better if you network with your professors and network with your fellow graduate students. So those are 5 tips. You want a 6th tip? Time management. You have to find a way to schedule your day so that you are regularly doing what you need to do. And that means regulating your meals to coincide with your study, to coincide with your exercise. You must live a disciplined life in graduate school. You must find a way in your life to have the number of hours you need of study. So those are my big 6 tips. We have my question from Miguel here. Miguel, are you saying that you are going to have to do a video on how to write an essay that includes theories like feminism, postmodernism, Marxism? Are you saying that you have to do a video with that? Are you saying I should create a video on how to write an essay that includes theories? Tell me which one it is, and I'm happy to do it. I think what you might be saying, Miguel, is can you, Dr. Taylor, do a presentation on how to write an extended piece of writing that is based upon a certain theory, which is another way of asking, how should I incorporate a theory into a piece of writing? And I'd be happy to show you that. Just confirm for me that's what you want, Miguel. I just did a paper that was based primarily on Marxism. Basically, you just take that kind of general principle. Marxism is also called conflict theory. It's the idea that society builds itself on a primary conflict between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, those who own the means of production and those who consume, those who labor in the means of production. And there are that goes a long way to explaining certain things. Here's Miguel's response. Miguel says, sorry for my mistake. I mean, how should I write an essay about literary? Or you're doing an essay about literary theories? How long is the essay, Miguel? I can see doing a short one in which you would discuss only the theories, and I could see doing a kind of medium length one in which you would give a theory and then give a brief example of it. For example, I did a Marxist analysis of a short story. I'd have to go back and look up the author now. But basically, it was about a group of humans who had landed on another planet, and they had become subjugated by the creatures on this other planet. And to me, it was a classic example of using Marxist conflict theory to explain all the different kinds of things that were happening in the story. So Miguel, I would do that. Miguel, tell me how long the essay is, and I will know what to do. Okay, Liang, academic book chapter is a journal article. Okay, Leon, let me make sure I understand this before I answer. Are you being required to write a journal article? Answer that question for me, Leon. Becky, I found your email along with an email from you that I never knew was there. Happens all the time. I'm sorry I got lost. If I'm going to. Okay, great. Look forward to hearing from you, Becky. So, Leon, it's only a 2-page essay, Miguel? How many theories do you have to cover in a 2-page essay? You're being asked to write a journal article. Gotcha. Okay. When writing a journal article, Leon, you must go through first a proposal. You need to go ahead and follow the steps outlined in the research proposal, because a journal article is nothing but the final outcome of a research process that begins with the research proposal. So if you have to write a journal article, you should begin with a research proposal and share that with whomever. Another tip that I would give you for writing a journal article is 2 tips. One, find a co-writer or co-writers. Liang, is this supposed to be a, a single author? Are you supposed to write this by yourself? Or can you have co-authors? If it's possible to have co-authors, get them. Next point, before writing your journal article, first find a target journal. Find 3 target journals. And then study those target journals so that you know what their editors and their review board are looking for. So before you sit down to write an article, you've got a lot of steps to go through. Are you going to have a co-author? What is your research proposal? Have your research proposal reviewed and vetted? And 3, as you conduct your research, always have in mind the specific journal that you are writing for. So it has to be by yourself, okay? That makes it harder, makes it harder to get published too. If you look at academic journals, and there are thousands of them in the world, you will see that most of the articles have at least one co-author. Usually there are teams of authors working on these journal articles. So you've got a severe limitation there that you're working with. I imagine that this is probably being done as a requirement in your degree program. And so in that sense, you writing it by yourself makes sense. But just know that it's different writing it by yourself than how it is actually done in the field. Two-page essay. Wow, Miguel. How many theories are you supposed to include in a 2-page essay? That's bizarre. That sounds like a list, not an essay. When I think of essay, I think of something that is analytical. But if you have to cover 3, 4, 5 theories in a 2-page essay, you're doing nothing more than listing them and defining them. Oh, you're doing just one theory. Okay. Thank you, Miguel. And in doing that one theory, are you supposed to apply it? Or are you simply supposed to discuss it? Let me look for something on my computer here. Okay. For example, you could write a 2-page essay, Miguel, if you did just one story and one theory. I was telling you earlier about when I used the Marxist conflict theory. I did it on one story. The story was called Blood Child. And the story was written by Octavia Butler. Well, it's a very famous story. Take a look at that, and you'll see how easily it is to apply the Marxist theory to that particular story. You would have no problem pulling out the major themes in that story, the major plot points in that story, and illustrating them as part of the Marxist conflict theory. No problem whatsoever. So what you want to do is to find a single theory and a single story to apply to. Yeah, Octavia Butler. Wow. She was out there, man. She took a lot of chances. She took a lot of chances. She was a female, Black science fiction writer. So she was facing a lot of obstacles in her career. Okay, well, top of the hour, top of the morning to you guys. We'll go ahead and shut it down here. I've got my notes for next time. We want to hear more about how to avoid using negative statements in your writing. Becky's going to share a list of the most common errors that she has found in the writing of her international students. And I think that kind of wraps it up for me on how to survive your graduate school journey. If any of you have any more tips that you want to share, please feel free to do so. I guess I'll put mine in a little handout that I will prepare for you guys. But otherwise, it was great seeing all of you. Thank you very much for coming by. Again, as soon as I click end broadcast, this will become a video on YouTube. You're welcome, Garan. And Garan, check out I have a video on my channel on how to avoid negative statements. You want to go ahead and watch that. But thank you for the interest, and I will go ahead and share that also with other members of our little study community here. Okay, talk to you guys later.